Okay, here we are at the top of page 2 for section 3.3. We're in the section on problem solving using geometry. So there's going to be some formulas that you need to memorize. And again, the best way to memorize is just every time you use the formula, write it and say it. Write the formula, not just plug things in, but write the actual beginning formula. So now we're moving on to circles, area and circumference of each circle. Their circumference is just like the perimeter of a figure. Circle just has a different name for it because you aren't adding up square sides. You aren't adding up single lengths together. It's a continuous measurement all the way around. And it will involve using some formulas for that. So, and as we do these, we're going to have express our answer in two forms, leaving it in terms of pi, and then going ahead and using pi on our calculator to round it to the nearest whole number. And if you aren't sure how to find pi on your calculator, make sure you ask that question when you come to class, or if it's a while till the next class, then use one of your help resources. So the poor man's version is, if you don't have your calculator, you could use 3.14 or 22/7 as pi approximations. It's not the best way to do it now that we have access to our calculators, because it actually gives you pi as its full version. You don't see it on the screen, but it is pi worked out. So always best to use pi in the calculator, but if you have to, forget your calculator or whatever, you can round to 3.14 or use 22/7, okay? Alright, so here's the formula. So for area, it's A equals pi r squared, where r is the radius. Okay, and they show that here for you. For circumference, again, that's another version of perimeter here. And the formula for circumference is C is equal to 2 pi r, 2 times pi times r, and r is the radius. And or you could use pi times diameter, where d is the diameter, pi times d. And a diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. Okay? So your diameter would go from edge to edge through the center. So your diameter is all the way across the circle, radius is halfway across the circle. Okay, so we're going to find area and circumference of a circle. And this one. And the formula for area, as we work to memorize it, we're going to write it and say it every time. Area equals pi r squared. And that little squared piece, one of the things I use to remember is you're finding area, which means what you're really finding is how many of these little 1 foot by 1 foot squares, a square foot. Area is saying how many of those will fit into this figure. So that's what area discovers, is how many square feet. And so that's why you have the squared piece in your formula, as well as your label will be feet squared. Okay, so you're going to have your answer and it's going to be feet squared because you're finding how many square feet go into that. That's what that means. So let's take what they give us. Again, it might be helpful to redraw the figure for yourself so you get a real understanding, clear understanding and picture of what they're giving you. And as I redraw it, I see that the 40 is really the diameter. Okay, I don't want to get that confused, just start jumping in with that number into the formula when I don't know what it represents. It's the diameter, which means that the radius is what we want for this formula, pi r squared. Radius is half the diameter, so I would take 40 divided by 2, and that gives me 20. So as I fill in this formula here of pi r squared, my r that I'm going to be using this time is 20, because it's half of that diameter that they give us. And then working that out, 20 squared is 400, so that'd be 400 pi feet squared. This would be our version in terms of pi. So two answers here. And then I'd use my calculator to come up with the approximation. I'd take 400 times pi in my calculator, round it to the nearest whole number, because that's what they told me to do. Okay, directions are really helpful to know when to stop on problems. 1,257 feet squared. Okay. And now for circumference. So the formula for circumference, you can either memorize circumference equals 2 pi r, or you could memorize circumference is equal to pi times diameter. In this case, they give us diameter, so this would be a nice one to use here. So it's pi times our diameter, and our diameter is going to be 40. And so I get 40 pi. This is the exact answer. It's 40 times pi feet long. It's just a single linear measurement around the outside, so we just use plain old feet for that. And then I would use my calculator to come up with the approximation rounded to the nearest whole number. So it would be 40 times pi would give me 126 feet. Again, that's rounded. You'll get this decimal that stretches out forever. You want to round it. Okay, so in the next video we'll do another try problem. It's housed like a story problem. We'll get to use some algebra and work backwards through the story problem, and then there'll be a try problem for you. We'll see you at the next video.